is order.
Power that ended Hypno! Shudder! Vengeance will be mine! Rack and ruin!
Animal test 6308.
Crush!
Picked.
At first glance, Eula may look like a pay-to-win cryo version of Razor. She specializes in dealing physical damage and focuses on taking advantage of superconduct. However, a closer look at her kit reveals a much more nuanced playstyle, which opens up a whole world of creativity in terms of builds and team comps. In this video, we're going to go over the best team builds that maximizes your damage potential on Eula. I'll be providing a bunch of different variations so that you can find a team that not only works for the characters you have, but also suits the way you play the game the best. As always, I tried to provide a ton of different combos and a variety of characters so that each team doesn't feel like an off-brand version of another. I'm super excited to show you guys all these different team builds. Before I get started, I want to apologize for the lack of videos lately. I've been focusing on studying for my MCAT, so I haven't had the free time to make videos, less even play the game. I'll be slowly returning to my regular schedule in a couple of weeks, and I'm super thankful for everyone who's still here. Without further ado, let's jump back right into things. Eula is a claymore wielder that has the cryo vision. Her ascension stat is crit damage, which sets her up incredibly well to scale into the late game. Her skill and burst provide not only damage, but also increase her resistances and shreds the resistances of her enemies. This allows her to do exponentially greater damage while also giving her tankiness and sustainability. All in all, we want to take advantage of her ridiculously overstated numbers by having her stay on the field for as long as possible. With Eula, it's not about synergizing with other characters to provide extremely powerful burst sequences. It's about selfishly staying on the field and whacking her enemies into submission. In terms of elemental reactions, we really want to focus on the one that makes her shine the most. This would be Superconduct, which, although doesn't provide much damage on its own, shreds resistances to help her deal as much damage as possible. This is so important. I've seen countless Razor mains not have a cryo character in their team, effectively losing around 40% free damage. Don't make the same mistake, Superconduct is so important. Other reactions that work well for her include Freeze. Because she's a claymore user, her attacks are inherently classified as heavy, which means attacking frozen characters gives you access to shatter damage. This scales incredibly well with lowering enemy resistances, which means it's a match made in heaven with Eula's kit as well as Superconduct. Electrocharge is also great because it leaves elemental auras behind, so you can fit a lot more reactions into a certain instance. I've talked about this in my Hu Tao team guide, but it basically allows you to proc up to 3 elemental reactions at once. Lastly, Melt is still okay, however it doesn't fit her playstyle well enough to justify running this over other reactions. Also to mention, Swirl typically doesn't matter for Superconduct users, and Geo is a nice add-in to give you a bit more shielding. The element priority is Electro, then Hydro, then Geo, then Pyro, then Anemo. For resonances, there are a couple that stand out. The best resonance for Eula is Double Cryo, which allows her to hyperscale into crit damage and physical damage, while still getting enough crit rate. Because Eula inherently scales off crit damage, you can get upwards to 300 crit damage while abusing this resonance to get enough crit rate. Geo Resonance is also decent. I'd rather take this over Pyro Resonance because it's a lot easier to fit 2 Geo into a team comp with Eula than 2 Pyro. Let's now get to the best teams for Eula. I've marked the team's Abyss ready if I think it's something you can plug and play in Abyss. Team 1 features Eula, Fischl or Beidou, Xingqiu, and Zhongli. This is my best in slot. I like Fischl here a lot because you can take advantage of getting in as many Electrocharge procs as possible, which means more reactions overall. Oz is just a lot more consistently on the field, so you won't have to switch out as much. However, Beidou is awesome here too to get you some extra resistance, even if it's a bit redundant. Usually these two characters are interchangeable. At the end of the day, you just want a consistent way to proc Superconduct. Usually you should be picking the one that you have C6 for, and if they're both C0, Fischl provides more value. Xingqiu would give you access to Electro Charge and Freeze. He plays more of a utility role in this comp, focused on applying Hydro Auras constantly while also being the main healer of your team. With the added resistances and shielding you get from Zhongli, the Water Swords provide enough for any situation, and you can always build more healing bonus into your Xingqiu if needed. Zhongli is great for selfish characters because the shield not only shreds resistances, but also allows you to stay on Eula for longer. His burst is the best form of crowd control for basic attack-oriented characters. The Abyss core for this comp is Eula, Fischl or Beidou, Xingqiu, and Flex. Team 2 features Eula, Ganyu or Diona, Xingqiu, and Beidou. This may seem like a slight deviation from Team 1, but it plays very differently. Here we're bringing out Cryo Resonance and focusing on imbuing the interaction between Ganyu and Xingqiu. Cryo Resonance means we have to build Eula a lot differently. Instead of building crit rate, we are stacking crit damage. The Cryo Resonance synergizes perfectly with Ganyu Xingqiu pair, which allows you to permanently freeze an opponent upon the effects of both bursts. Cryo Resonance gives you additional crit rate against frozen opponents, and because Eula is a Claymore user, she can break that freeze instantly, proccing Shatter on top of her attack. This effectively helps you weave in a lot more Shatter damage into your combat. Ganyu's burst also gives you some cryo damage bonus, which is actually pretty relevant considering Eula's high ratios on her abilities. Beidou is needed over Fischl in this scenario because we do want that extra resistance now that Zhongli is no longer part of the party. If you find yourself dying a lot, you can substitute Diona for Ganyu and have pretty much similar results, although her ult damage takes a lot slower, meaning less freeze procs. She does offer healing and shielding, which can be very useful in tough battles. The Abyss core for this comp is Ganyu, Diona, Xingqiu, and Flex. Team 3 features Eula, Mona or Xingqiu, Lisa, and Venti or Sucrose. Because the majority of Eula's damage comes from her basic attacks, she's a lot weaker when dealing with mobs. This team build keeps the essence of her kit and damage while providing tools to deal with hordes of enemies. Lisa will provide super conduct, but her burst can also lower defenses, which will amplify Eula's damage. However, it does have a limited area of effect, so you want to pair that with either Venti or Sucrose to make sure we can group the enemies together. Mona serves as more burst damage, while Xingqiu will provide healing and consistent DPS. Take whichever one is necessary for the situation at hand. With this team, you can also leverage Eula's AoE skills with their high ratios. By bringing in the Animo user, we get the most bang for our buck when you use Eula's Charge E and her burst. This type of damage potential is what separates her from Razor, as she has many tools that can deal with waves of enemies quickly and efficiently. The Abyss core for this comp is Eula, Mona or Xingqiu, Venti or Sucrose, and then you flex that last spot. Team 4 features Eula, Beidou, Albedo, and Zhongli. This team is for anyone who just wants to hack and slash their way to victory. This team comp has the lowest learning curve and reliable damage. Beidou over Fischl for super conduct and for that added resistances. Since you won't have any other reactions than super conduct, having Fischl isn't that beneficial. Albedo is a DPS machine with the Geo Resonance, reducing enemies' Geo resistance. Zhongli for shielding and crowd control. The Geo Resonance also buffs up Eula even more, giving her a sizable attack damage bonus and even more durability. The playstyle for this team is quite like how you would play Razor. Once you drop all your abilities, switch to Eula and just attack away. You don't need to worry about dodging or switching back and forth, just spam your attack button and watch as Eula mows down enemies. The Abyss core for this comp is Eula, Beidou, Zhongli, and then Flex. I'm going to quickly go over some budget options for Eula DPS. Team 5 features Eula, Diona, Xingqiu, and Beidou. This plays exactly the way Team 2 plays, double cryo with the ability for super conduct and freeze. Diona's shield is very relevant in a lot of fights and will keep you healthy throughout. Team 6 features Eula, Lisa, Xingqiu, and Sucrose. This is Team 3, however without Mona you're losing a lot of burst DPS. You're mainly focused on using Sucrose burst alongside Eula and Lisa burst, and then having Xingqiu burst available for when you have one-on-one combat. Team 7 features Eula, Fischl, Kaya, and Barbara. This is my best team comp for free to play. If you got Diona for free in this previous event, you can replace Kaya with Diona and take out Barbara. Otherwise, this team builds on the principles of the other teams listed above. Double Cryo allows you to build more aggressively to hit harder, Barbara with Thrilling Tales is great for buffing your Eula up even further. Her E also allows you to get occasional freeze on your enemies. Fischl is your best friend here because she will provide a lot of needed extra damage. Those are the best team builds for Eula. Physical damage carries are often overlooked because of their linear playstyle and lack of versatility. However, with Eula, versatility is her greatest asset. Her basic attacks hit hard, but she also has her skills to fall back on, opening up the opportunity to build more reactions into her playstyle. I'd heavily advocate experimenting with the suggestions I've listed above and fine-tune it for what works best for you. If I didn't list a character that you think works well with Eula, comment below. I'd love to see all of your thoughts. If you haven't already, subscribing would mean a lot for me and you would be able to catch my content faster than anyone else. Liking and commenting on this video also goes to help me out with the algorithm and shows your appreciation for my content. I am so excited to keep making content for you week in and week out. Thanks for watching. Until next time.